Somebody said if you don't like playing with LeBron, you wouldn't like playing with Kobe. Bro, you guys got to stop these narratives, man. It's not that I didn't like playing with Bron, you guys. And I don't want to go into detail about it. Some of y'all comments just be so asinine. Like when I was in Cleveland and I was a young player, I had no idea Bron was going to come back.
Kyrie Irving just led a match that could burn down one of the biggest legacies in basketball history, and the wildest part, he did it with just one sentence on a random live stream. No press conference, no sit-down interview, just straight truth dropped casually while the cameras were rolling. The internet exploded instantly. LeBron fans went into full defense mode, comment sections turned into war zones, and suddenly everyone remembered that Kyrie Irving isn't just some guy who used to play alongside LeBron. He's the guy who has receipts, real stories, and a front row seat to everything that happened behind closed doors in Cleveland, and now he's ready to talk. Here's what makes this so dangerous. Kyrie wasn't angry when he said it. He wasn't ranting or emotional. He looked directly at the camera with this calm, ice-cold energy and said something that sent shockwaves through every basketball group chat on the planet. He told everyone watching that when his playing days are over, the real story about what happened with LeBron is coming out, and he said, "Trust me, like someone who's been carrying secrets for way too long. That's not just talk, that's a promise." And judging by how fast people started panicking in his comments, LeBron's fan base knows exactly what that could mean. So let's dig into what Kyrie's really been holding on to, because the deeper you look at his time in Cleveland, the messier the whole situation becomes, and it all starts way before LeBron even came back. Most people forget that Kyrie Irving never wanted to be in Cleveland. That's not shade, that's just facts. When he got drafted #1 overall in 2011, he didn't get a choice. The league just told him where to go, and he ended up on a team that was still a mess after LeBron bolted for Miami. Kyrie was this insanely talented guard with handles nobody had ever seen before, but he got stuck carrying a roster that had no real direction.
The reason why I say I would have loved to play with Kobe, because I would have loved to have started my career with, I love Cleveland, don't get me wrong. I'm appreciative of all the things that they've done for me, but at the same time, I would have loved to choose the franchise I wanted to go to. You know what I'm saying? I would have loved to develop next to some of my favorite players and some of my favorite people. Because being a young player, when you're on a team that's not winning a lot of games, there's a lot of bad habits that form, and that's what ended up happening to me when I was very young. I had a lot of bad habits. I was not a winner. I was not a good loser.
Night after night, he was out there trying to drag a bad team to wins that barely mattered. And here's where it gets interesting. Kyrie recently admitted that those losing years forced him to develop habits he didn't even want. He started playing selfish basketball because there was nobody else who could score. He became a one-man show out of necessity, not by choice. But right when Kyrie was finally starting to shake those habits and turn into a real leader, everything changed. LeBron James announced he was coming back to Cleveland, and just like that, Kyrie's whole path got flipped upside down. Picture this. You're a 22-year-old superstar entering your fourth season. Right at that moment when most players take the leap and become the face of their franchise, you've struggled through the tough years, you've learned from your mistakes, and you're finally ready to run your own team. Then the biggest name in basketball shows up and takes over the entire operation. Your spotlight gone, your leadership role handed to someone else. Your chance to grow into the guy delayed indefinitely. That's exactly what happened to Kyrie Irving in 2014, and if you go back and listen to how he talks about that time, you'll notice something. He never says it was all bad. He doesn't trash LeBron directly, but he keeps using this one phrase that should make everyone pay attention. He says playing with LeBron is a different animal, not in a good way, in a this changes everything and not how you think kind of way. Because when you're on LeBron's team, the expectations don't just go up, they get twisted. You're not judged by your own development anymore. You're judged by whether you fit into LeBron's system, whether you help LeBron win, whether you can handle being the sidekick while LeBron controls the narrative. And that's where the real story starts getting dark. Because LeBron didn't just bring basketball skills back to Cleveland, he brought something way more powerful: control.
But when you guys make it about one player, it is kind of just weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just one player that you have to promote. Like, we had like solid players on our team. When you're playing with somebody like Bron or somebody that you guys like to compare him to, it's a different animal. It's a different journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're automatically expected to be at the top of the charts, the top of the league. Every time you play with Bron, it's going to be a lot of media attention. It's going to be a lot of back and forth of narratives. It's going to be about a lot of spun narratives. It's going to be a lot of politics. It's going to be a lot of shit that a lot of people don't see in front of the camera. And for me, I was just a young person trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? It's not that I disliked playing with Bron at any time. It was just literally, it was my time to move on. And that's what people got to accept. They want a deeper, detailed dive in terms of what happened. It's like, it was my time to move on.
Let's talk about Pat Riley for a second, because this is the detail that flips the whole conversation. Before LeBron went to Miami, he was talented but raw, emotional on the sidelines, shaky under pressure, and honestly, kind of all over the place as a leader. Then he spent 4 years under Pat Riley's system in Miami, and everything shifted. Riley taught him discipline, structure, focus, and how to stay locked in when the pressure hits. That version of LeBron was the most polished we'd ever seen. Professional, consistent, calculated. But here's what Kyrie's hinting at that most people missed. LeBron didn't just learn how to be a better player in Miami, he learned how to manage the entire machine around him. The media coverage, the public perception, the storylines that get told. Pat Riley's system wasn't just about basketball, it was about building a brand that stays protected no matter what happens on the court. When LeBron came back to Cleveland, he brought all of that with him, and Kyrie lived through what that really meant. He's talked about how everything around LeBron is controlled, filtered, and spun before it ever reaches the public. He's mentioned how stories get twisted off camera, how politics happen behind closed doors, and how the narrative always bends back toward protecting one person. That's heavy. Because it means LeBron didn't just return to Cleveland as a better basketball player, he came back as someone who knew how to manage every single angle of his career, including how his teammates fit into the story. And when you're Kyrie Irving, stuck watching that system work against you in real time, it starts to feel less like a partnership and more like a machine that doesn't care who gets left behind. But then came the moment that was supposed to change everything. Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals, Kyrie Irving, 24 years old, steps back over Steph Curry with 53 seconds left in the game and drains one of the most clutch shots in basketball history. Bang, Cleveland wins their first championship in over 50 years. The city goes absolutely insane. Kyrie just delivered the dagger that ended decades of heartbreak. It's the kind of moment that should define a career, the kind of shot that gets replayed forever as the ultimate example of ice-cold execution under pressure. Except that's not what happened. And this is where Kyrie's frustration becomes impossible to ignore. He hits the shot that wins the championship, and when he turns on the TV later, all he hears is, "blocked by James," over and over and over. LeBron's block on Andre Iguodala gets replayed endlessly, while Kyrie's game-winning three barely gets mentioned. It's like his moment got erased in real time, and then it got worse. LeBron goes on television and says that championship made him the greatest player of all time. Not us, not we, not this team, just him. Kyrie averaged 27 points per game in that finals series. He was the second best player on the floor for the entire matchup. He hit the shot that sealed the win. But somehow, the whole story turned into LeBron's redemption, LeBron's journey, LeBron's legacy moment. Kyrie became a footnote in his own achievement. That's the kind of thing that sticks with you. That's the moment where you start realizing the system around LeBron isn't designed to celebrate the team. It's designed to protect and elevate one person, no matter what actually happened on the court. And then things got brutal. Fast forward to the 2017 finals. Kyrie's out there dropping 29 points per game, going toe-to-toe with Kevin Durant while the Warriors are dominating every matchup. Durant is completely outplaying LeBron. It's not even close. But somehow, when the Cavs lose, all the blame gets shifted everywhere except onto LeBron. Kyrie takes heat, the role players get criticized, but LeBron stays protected like always. And less than a month after that finals loss, the unthinkable happens. Trade rumors start swirling around Kyrie Irving, the guy who delivered a championship, the guy who just carried insane weight in back-to-back finals appearances, suddenly finds himself being shopped around like he's the problem. Think about how disrespectful that is. LeBron's inner circle starts whispering about moving on from Kyrie, like the 2016 championship never even happened. Fans start acting like general managers, cooking up fake trade scenarios, debating who they could get for him. It was wild, and Kyrie finally reached his breaking point. He demanded a trade, he wanted out, and that decision made him the first superstar in LeBron's era to actually take control of his own path and leave on his own terms. Every other big name who played with LeBron either joined him willingly or got quietly pushed out when their value dropped. Dwayne Wade in his later years, Chris Bosh before his health issues, Kevin Love when his role shrunk. None of them walked away by choice, but Kyrie did. He looked at the whole system, realized it wasn't built for him to grow, and said, "I'm done." And LeBron's fan base has never forgiven him for it, because his exit exposed something uncomfortable. The LeBron ecosystem only works when everyone else accepts being replaceable. Kyrie refused to play that role, and it broke the entire illusion. That's when the character assassination really kicked in, and this wasn't normal basketball criticism. This felt personal, coordinated, and relentless. People went after everything. His time in Boston when the younger players didn't mesh with his leadership style. His injuries, like he was choosing to sit out games just to be difficult. Even his personality, calling him weird, moody, hard to play with. Every single struggle got twisted into evidence that Kyrie couldn't succeed without LeBron holding his hand. It didn't matter that he was still an elite player. The narrative had already been written, and nothing he did on the court could change it. Then the pandemic hit, and things went completely off the rails. Kyrie made a personal choice not to take the COVID vaccine, and the reaction was insane. People weren't just criticizing his decision, they were calling for him to be banned from the league, calling him selfish, reckless, dangerous. The anger didn't even feel like it was about health or safety anymore. It felt like people were punishing him for daring to have his own voice, for refusing to fall in line. And the wildest part? A huge chunk of that rage came from LeBron fans who acted like Kyrie's personal choice was somehow an attack on their favorite player's legacy. That level of obsession is next level bizarre. And through all of that, where was LeBron? Silent. Completely silent. No defense of his former teammate, no public support, nothing. just radio silence while his fan base did all the attacking for him. That's exactly what Kyrie was talking about when he mentioned the politics that happen off camera. LeBron doesn't have to say anything himself. His system runs on autopilot. His fans handle the dirty work. The narratives stay protected, and he stays above the mess with his image intact. It's efficient, calculated, and honestly kind of ruthless. But here's where the story takes a turn, because Kyrie didn't crumble, he didn't fade away, he didn't prove the haters right. Instead, he went to Dallas and became a champion again. He's playing the most efficient, focused basketball of his entire career. He's a respected veteran in the locker room, a trusted voice for younger players, and a guy who finally found real peace, not the fake, media-friendly version of peace, the kind where you actually know who you are and don't need anyone else's approval. And here's the craziest proof of his growth. Even when Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers, Kyrie's confidence didn't shake. He stayed steady, kept producing, and showed everyone that all those critics who said he was impossible to build around were completely wrong. Kyrie turned himself into one of the most reliable players on his team. He proved that the narrative was never about his talent or his ability to lead. It was about people needing him to fail so they could protect someone else's story. And now we're back to that live stream moment, because Kyrie wasn't done talking after everything he's been through, all the hate, all the twisting of his story, all the years of staying quiet. He looked into that camera and made a promise. When I'm done playing, you guys will hear the real story, trust me. And the way he said it wasn't casual. It wasn't a throwaway comment. It was the tone of someone who's been carrying weight for years and is finally ready to put it all on the table. This isn't going to be some vague diplomatic interview where he voids the tough questions. This is going to be Kyrie laying out everything that happened behind closed doors, everything that got buried by the narrative machine, everything the public never saw. Then he dropped another line that cut even deeper. No one could ever live in the shoes. No one could ever have anything legitimate to say about what they would have done in my position. That's not frustration talking. That's someone who knows things the rest of us don't. Someone who lived through situations that would change how we see the entire Cleveland era if they ever came to light. And the way he said it with that edge in his voice, that I'm not scared anymore energy, you can tell he's done protecting other people's legacies at the expense of his own truth. So the real question now isn't whether Kyrie will talk. It's what happens to LeBron's legacy when he does, because for years, the system around LeBron has been airtight. Every narrative gets controlled, every storyline gets shaped, every bit of blame gets redirected away from him and onto someone else. It's been polished, precise, and incredibly effective. But Kyrie's promise cracks that armor, and once he starts talking, once he lays out the politics, the tension, the real conversations that happened when cameras weren't rolling, LeBron's carefully constructed image might not survive intact. Kyrie didn't need a Netflix documentary or a PR campaign to shake the foundation. He did it with one sentence on a live stream, and judging by how fast people went into panic mode, how quickly the defense squad mobilized, how desperately fans tried to discredit him before he even said anything, it's clear everyone knows exactly how dangerous his truth could be. The clock is ticking. Kyrie's retirement is only a few years away. And when that day comes, when he finally sits down and tells the full story, without worrying about contracts, team politics, or league pressure, the entire basketball world is going to be listening, because the truth always hits harder when it comes from the person who actually lived it. And Kyrie Irving lived through all of it. Every moment, every decision, every piece of the story that got twisted into something else, he was there. And soon, he's going to make sure everyone else knows exactly what really happened. If this story opened your eyes to what's really been brewing between two of the biggest names in basketball, hit that subscribe button. Because when Kyrie finally talks, you're going to want to be ready for what comes next. And trust me, it's going to be bigger than anyone expects.